Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As always, my name is Anna and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesdays. And today we will be getting into the case of Rogel Mederos Aguilera. So if you like true crime, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and let's get started. On April 26, 2019, 23-year-old Rogel Mederos Aguilera is working for Castellano 03 Trucking as a driver. He was on the road in Lakewood, Colorado, driving a semi with an attached tractor trailer full of lumber, going eastbound down the I-70. He was driving at about 85 miles per hour when he went to push on the brakes because he saw there was an upcoming standstill since there was an accident up ahead. So he goes to push the brakes and finds out the brakes have given out. He attempted to pull over to the side of the freeway, but noticed that there was already another truck pulled off to the side, so he couldn't do that. Going 85 miles an hour and not able to pull over to the side of the road, Rogel said that he felt he was going to die, so he just closed his eyes and hit the stopped traffic. This caused a pileup and an explosion. 28 vehicles would be impacted. Of those 28, 4 would be semi-trucks, and the rest would be regular everyday vehicles. Though it could not be explained what caused the explosion, but unfortunately 4 people would lose their lives. Miguel Angel Lamas Arellano, 24 years old, 67-year-old William Bailey, 61-year-old Doyle Harrison, and 69-year-old Stanley Politano. A witness who was panhandling in the area witnessed the accident and immediately went to assist in getting people out of their vehicles. He was able to help get about 3 or 4 people out of their vehicles. Another witness would say that they saw the look on Rogel's face just before the accident and that his eyes were wide open and a terrified look was on his face. Now, I want to make it known that Rogel did not have any drugs or alcohol in his system, but nonetheless, Rogel would be arrested and charged. He would be charged with 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter, 6 counts of first-degree assault, 10 counts of first-degree attempt to commit assault, 2 counts of vehicular assault, 1 count of reckless driving, 4 counts of careless driving causing death, totaling 23 charges, on top of the 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter. Rogel would be offered a plea deal. However, according to District Attorney Alexis King, Rogel declined any sort of plea deal that was more than a traffic ticket, and that he had his right to a trial. Rogel would go to trial, and this took place 3 years later, in October of 2021. The defense would argue that this was just simply a mistake and an accident. The prosecution would argue that if this was in fact an accident, that Rogel did not do everything that he could to avoid the accident, since there was a runaway ramp that Rogel did not take advantage of. In the end, Rogel would be found guilty, and he was scheduled for sentencing in December. On December 13th, 2021, he was sentenced to a minimum on all counts, totaling a 110-year sentence to be served consecutively. This is a key word, consecutively as opposed to concurrently. These 2 are the most common sentences when it comes to multiple counts. Consecutive sentences tend to run back to back, and concurrent sentences are ones that are served for a duration that's equal to the length of the longest sentence. Well, when social media and the trucker community heard of the sentence, everyone was outraged.
So my dispatcher just gave me a load. And she said, hey, got a good paying loads going down to Colorado. I said, who the fuck going to Colorado? They giving out 100 fucking years. My brakes ain't fucking go out. I ain't fucking going nowhere, motherfucker. Better send me the opposite way.
So by now, everyone's pretty familiar with the case about the truck driver that killed 4 people in 2019 when he had a brake malfunction. To me, it's just crucial over 100 years. Yet we live in a country where people go and shoot people at their job sites or in schools, and yet their sentence is not even 100 years, or they don't even get life, or they don't even get the death penalty. But this guy, for an accident where he had a malfunction. Now, it's very easy to critique someone and say this and that and that and that. But you were not in his shoes. You were not driving that truck. You probably didn't have the experience. You have a couple seconds to react. And in those couple seconds, almost everyone will panic or freak out or freeze and not know what to do. But yeah, it's very easy to fucking judge from this side. Well, I would have fucking done this. I would have done that. I would have fucking made that train hop over. Train. You see, I even messed up. But people, I don't know.
Anyone that lives in Colorado, I'm gonna just tell you right now, ain't nobody gonna deliver from the whole country to Colorado. So anything y'all get from out of state, y'all ain't gonna receive it until probably February. Food, yeah, you're not getting that. You gotta go out of state to go get that shit, because nobody's gonna deliver in Colorado. Nobody's gonna drive there either. Nobody's gonna drop something off down the street. Nobody is gonna drive that drives a semi in Colorado due to the protest that's going on because of the ridiculous sentence caused by a real negligent employer for not training them, and not only not keeping up with maintenance on their trucks. They gave this boy a ridiculous sentence, 110 years. Yes, there was fatalities. Yes, there was a bunch of people injured due to this crash. I don't think that boy deserved 110 years as a sentence. He was green. He was barely learning. 26, 28 years old. Not sure exactly how old he is, but he's young, bro. He doesn't deserve that. So if you live in Colorado, I would suggest you leaving Colorado to go get whatever you need. Groceries, yeah, there's nothing at Walmart. There's nothing at Sam's. There's not going to be any packages delivered. Amazon Prime, stop paying that crap, because ain't nobody going to deliver that shit. It's crazy.
In case you missed it, Rogel Aguilera Mederos was sentenced to 110 years in prison for a semi-truck accident that ended up killing 4 people. Was he reckless? Arguably, yes. Although his brakes unfortunately failed, he was still going 85 in a 45, and he failed to use a runaway truck ramp on the side of the highway. Were the damages that stem from his recklessness absolutely devastating? Yes, without a doubt. Was sentencing him to 110 years appropriate? Before we answer that question, let's review a case with similar facts. In 2013, Ethan Couch also killed 4 people in a car accident, but unlike Rogel, Ethan was driving under the influence. He was also driving on a restricted driver's license. You want to guess what his sentence was? None. Judge Jean Hudson Boyd sentenced Ethan Couch to 10 years of probation and therapy. 110 years, probation and therapy. Despite Rogel's lack of intent and despite the fact that no drugs or alcohol were involved, Colorado judge that issued Rogel's sentence stated that he had no discretion to get a lesser prison term, although he would have liked to, which sheds light on mandatory minimums and the largely unchecked power on prosecutors that is seldom criticized. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Our justice system rewards the rich and privileged at the expense of the poor and underprivileged. The system is in desperate need of a rehaul, so let's continue to spread the word.
Todos los días de mi vida le pregunto a Dios por qué me dejó vivo. Yo cambiaría mi vida por la de los cuatro.
As you can see, truckers started to protest by starting No Truckers to Colorado. A petition was started on change.org for the sentence to be reduced to time served or to give clemency to Rogel, which is pretty much just requesting the governor to sort of like pardon or reduce his sentence. As of December 30th, the petition had over 5 million signatures with a goal of 6 million. I will have a link to the petition down in the description box if you would like to sign it. But just like everything else nowadays, this sentence was divided. The majority of the people agreed that Rogel should not essentially die in prison for an accident. He was an inexperienced driver to be doing a run like this, according to multiple experienced truckers. Even Kim Kardashian chimed in her opinion on Twitter. Her tweets are as follows. Kim tweeted on December 21st, "For those who don't know about this case, Rogel Aguilera Mederos is a 26-year-old that was sentenced 110 years in prison for driving a semi-tractor trailer and crashed into traffic, killing 4 people." She posted another tweet the same day. "He was not drunk or under the influence. His brakes on the semi-tractor trailer failed." Continuing, she tweets, "Another shocking and unfair part of this case is that the judge didn't want to sentence him to such a lengthy sentence. However, because of the mandatory minimums in Colorado, his hands were tied. Mandatory minimums take away judicial discretion and need to end." In another tweet, Kim said, "Colorado law really has to be changed, and this is so unfair. At Gov of Colorado is a really good person, and I know he will do the right thing." In another post, Kim would use a screenshot from a post by one of the prosecutors, Kayla Wilderman. And she would say, "Another shocking part of the case is the post by prosecutor after his conviction. 4 people died in this tragic accident. Rogel has a life sentence for the accident, which will not only destroy his life, but it will also impact his wife and son's life." Kayla Wilderman posted, "Get yourself a trial partner as great as Trevor Mortsky. He turned a brake shoe from a semi-truck into a memento. What a special gift from a truly special person. I never asked for a new BFF at work, let alone one that is old enough to be my father. No offense. But I sure am grateful this trial brought you into my career as both a colleague and a friend. Words will never convey how lucky I am to have gotten the opportunity to learn from you." Kim would continue her tweets and say, "And yet for some reason, the prosecution thought it would be funny to post a photo of a brake shoe trophy she received from a colleague with a plaque. Makes me so sick." And lastly, Kim would tweet, "I pray that Governor Polis, who has been a leader on supporting reform that increase human dignity in the legal system, will commute his sentence." So just like Kim said, the judge in this case did not want to give Rogel the sentence, stating that his hands were tied, he had to follow the law, and the way Colorado has the law set up, Rogel had to serve a minimum for each count. As of today, the morning of December 30th, 2021, a new judge has been assigned to the case and an appeal has been submitted. And District Attorney King has said she is willing to consider a different sentence. I believe it's after all of the protests and backlash. Rogel is scheduled to be in court on January 13th of 2022 to discuss the court considering a new sentence. Defense and prosecution are trying to see about a 20 to 30-year sentence. As of the morning of December 31st, 2021, Governor Jared Polis has commuted the sentence of Rogel Mederos. CNN reports Colorado Governor Jared Polis is commuting the sentence of truck driver who was sentenced to 110 years in prison for an interstate wreck that killed 4 people. He announced Thursday, December 30th, calling the sentence highly atypical and unjust. Rogel Aguilera Mederos will now serve a 10-year sentence and will be eligible for parole on December 30th, 2026, according to a clemency letter Polis wrote to him. Governor Polis wrote, "The length of your 110-year sentence is simply not commensurate with your actions, nor with penalties handed down to others for similar crimes." Governor Polis also wrote the arbitrary and unjust sentence was the result of a law of Colorado passed by legislator and signed by a prior governor, and is not the fault of the judge who handed down the mandatory sentence required by law in this case. He would continue, "This case will hopefully spur an important conversation about sentencing laws, but any subsequent changes to the law would not retroactively impact your sentence, which is why I am granting you this limited commutation." An attorney for Rogel, James Colgan, said, "Obviously, I think that was the maximum sentence that Mr. Mederos should have received, 10 years. And Mr. Mederos is, of course, extraordinarily grateful for the governor's decision. I think that is a far more just reflection of what happened than the 110 years that he received." The DA, Alexis King, said on Thursday after the announcement, "We are disappointed in the governor's decision to act prematurely. We are meeting with the victims and their loved ones this evening to support them in navigating this unprecedented action and to ensure they are treated with fairness, dignity, and respect during this difficult time." So, Alexis King, you're upset then that the governor is giving the guy lesser time than what you were going to ask the court come January 13th. Please make it make sense, because it doesn't. As far as the January 13th trial date, everything I'm finding doesn't mention it. I am going to keep an eye on it, and I will give you any updates if I find any. But nonetheless, I am so glad to hear that he got a lesser sentence, because in my opinion, 110 years for an accident, I find that to be cruel and unusual punishment. For me, up until Governor Polis commenced the sentence, I felt that this case was a violation of the 8th Amendment, because the 8th Amendment protects us against cruel and unusual punishment. How is 110 years not considered cruel and unusual punishment? If Colorado wants to keep this rule, I personally will not be living there, but also if you're going to have this type of law, maybe you should rethink it, because in my opinion, that law can be considered cruel and unusual punishment because of outcomes like Rogel's. But nonetheless, though, Rogel will now be serving 10 years, knocking 100 years off of his sentence. And that will be all for the case of Rogel Mederos Aguilera. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe for more. Hit the bell notification. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal.